Consumer media in Johannesburg, this is the Real Economy Report. Samsung has launched a new initiative for the African continent, aiming to provide the most desolate areas with solar-powered internet schools. Megan Waite reports.
Technology giant Samsung Africa has geared itself to increase accessibility to education and connectivity across Africa through the launch of its solar-powered internet school model at the Samsung Engineering Academy in Boksburg, South Africa. IT Solutions Africa Director Thierry Boulanger tells us more.
It's a solar-powered internet school. The configuration itself is, in fact, the idea that we had was to be able to take Samsung products, optimize it for education, and have a self-contained school that we could put anywhere in the world as long as we have sunlight and as long as we have some kind of communication, either satellite or 3G or GSM kind of communication. So 3 different types of netbooks. One of the netbooks that we use there is a solar-powered netbook. It has a solar panel on the back of the cover, which allows you to put that product in the sun and to actually charge it. The other 2 are netbooks, which are not entry-level, they're mid-range products, they're very powerful, very light, low in consumption, but certainly Windows-based products which are very, very powerful. And then one full notebook, which is the teacher's notebook. So really showing the diversity of our products that can be used in a solar environment. The first technology that we use is the e-board technology, which is a Samsung technology, which allows for interactive education. So you would load the curriculum. How would one load the curriculum? We have the complete curriculum from grade 0 to grade 12 loaded in the server that's in the solar-powered internet school. It allows a student to walk into a classroom to be taught for maths grade 3, and the next classroom could be science for grade 7. And all of this can be done interactively on the e-board itself. But what's also important is that one could download an updated curriculum remotely. Now, if we think of the alternatives to that, it's taking a truck, it's taking textbooks, and it's a logistical challenge to actually get those netbook or the normal textbooks to the different countries or the different locations, whereas now we can upload that electronically. The solar-powered internet school can accommodate 21 students and 1 teacher, very comfortably. But we can certainly accommodate different configurations based on what the customer would require, and that would be done through our partner base. The ambient temperature outside, because this is a solar generated power, has to be in direct sunlight. We measured the direct temperature and it was 46 degrees outside, yet inside it was below 30 degrees without air conditioning, because we have proper ventilation and proper insulation of the actual product itself.
The most important thing is to bring access to quality learning and teaching into South Africa and Africa as a whole. And when I talk access, obviously I'm talking access to appropriate technologies. So the solar-powered internet school certainly brings those technologies. Only 25% of the people have got the access to that grid power. And so that means that obviously we've got a huge number of people out there that do not have access to power. But we have been blessed as South Africa, as Africa, with abundance of sunshine and power. Solar energy obviously then becomes an amazing solution. The main aim from the connectivity perspective for us is actually being able to connect these kids in Africa, in South Africa, to the world, and actually be able to connect the world back into Africa and South Africa. So combined between, these solar-powered internet schools and our traditional internet schools, in the education space, we're looking at reaching 2.5 million students just within that program. Overall, within our CSR program, we're looking at reaching 5 million young people in Africa as a whole by 2015.
Consol opened its 5th glass manufacturing facility in Nigel, east of Johannesburg, which now has the capacity to produce about 530 million glass containers a year. Brindavani Naidu reports.
Africa's largest glass packaging manufacturer, Consol, injected 1.9 billion rand into a new glass manufacturing facility in Nigel. The facility has a capacity of 110,000 tons, taking Consol's total manufacturing capacity across its now 5 facilities in South Africa to 950,000 tons. Engineering News attended the opening of the facility in Nigel and speaks to Consul's management about the motivation behind the construction.
If you look at Nigel factory and the background behind Nigel was 4 years in the planning. So we constantly were looking at markets, and in order for us to optimize opportunity, we had to build a new factory. We had run out of brownfield space. We had, in our existing sites, we had no other choice but to look at now building a new plant. Now with the new plant, obviously we had to make sure that we had enough flexibility, and what you see today in Nigel is you have flexibility matching to future growth, acknowledge that we have potentially got in excess capacity to demand, but in the glass industry also we're the major player, so to respond to any market move, then we would have to support it. So we had no choice but other than in order to support market demand, we had to make the decision to build a new plant. We are fortunate in Consul that we've got a lot of flexibility, but we still needed additional capacity to make sure we could support it. From a manufacturing sector point of view, we have a very strong internal training program. We are very self-sufficient. We look after our own training. So our development of our people, we have the opportunity to move them around within our group is there. So we do believe that we get up for the future, and if we have to respond at short notice, then we can respond at short notice. But you can't put in a new plant, in a couple of weeks. That's what actually happens. So yeah, we're still positive about it. Let's put it that way.
Well, during the construction of the project, we had up to 1,000 people on site. Several hundred people came out of the local community, and we'll finally end up with 180 people employed full-time on site. The majority of those people were sourced from the local area. We developed a program where we actually put people into our plant, and they actually worked in our plants for almost a year prior to coming to the plant. So we're quite happy to have created 180 direct jobs, and then there's obviously a number of supporting jobs in the area. All our raw material suppliers, all our other suppliers have had to create additional positions. And then obviously we will require services from the local community as well, which we think will stimulate growth. So you started the blank canvas. A lot of design work went into lay it out and to optimize it. And obviously we weren't constrained by prior technology, so we could pick the best technology. So in particular the furnace is very efficient, and then all the supporting peripheral services, the compressed air services, the cooling services. We've made use of variable speed drives, which greatly reduce our energy consumption. We have a number of control systems that shut systems down when they're not required. We use a lot of recycled glass as well, which obviously reduces the amount of energy required. And then obviously throughout the building we've done the standard sort of building energy improvement initiatives, natural lighting, low energy lighting. We've tried to design the building to have natural heat in the winter, so we don't have to require heating, and then also to be protected from sunlight in the summer. So really to just make sure that you have a low solar impact on the buildings themselves.
Other news making headlines this week: Eskom extends its demand reduction scheme to smaller customers, and Barloworld's financial year headline earnings surge 120%. State-owned power utility Eskom has approved Phase 2 of its demand market participation program, which will include small industrial and commercial customers.
Demand response is very different to energy efficiency. On a demand response program, puts measures in place whereby if we have a tight system condition, we actually in real time contact customers, ask them to reduce in return for compensation. So it's a global trend, and what we have been doing is with our large industrial customers running a program called DMP. And the great news is that after careful analysis and motivation, this morning I got the news that we have now got approval to proceed with the next phase of demand response, which will be looking at small industry and commercial customers.
Industrial equipment group Barloworld posted a better than expected 120% increase in full year profits. This was helped by surging demand for equipment from the mining sector.
On the handling front, we saw a substantial turnaround in business profitability from a small loss last year to a 72 million profit this year. We also successfully expanded our agriculture business into Russia and Mozambique, and while small startup losses were incurred in this financial period, that'll stand us in good stead for the future.
That's Creamer Media's Real Economy Report. Join us again next week for more news and insight into South Africa's real economy.